So what makes a successful barber?
Successful barber? Well, shit, I'll say getting good haircuts or giving out good haircuts, like haircuts that are, I would say, trying to find the right words. I'll say that are appreciated by like the customer, but also by like the barber community. You know, there's people who get a haircut, they don't know what the fuck they're looking at. Right. So I'll say someone who gives out like a high quality haircut and makes a lot of money, meaning that's what I'll say that's it. What would you say is a successful barber?
So how about if you're learning, you're not that good at cutting hair, how do you become successful? How do you become successful when you're not good at something?
You gotta practice.
Huh?
You gotta practice.
Practice. What will make a person that's not successful become successful when they're not actually good at hair? When the haircuts are not actually great yet.
Right.
How does that person become successful? How do you think?
You gotta keep practicing.
Keep practicing?
Well, yeah, you gotta study, right? You gotta study what makes how can you improve, right?
Right.
Practice what you need to practice on. How long would you say it took you to become a good barber?
I think it takes, see, back then, there wasn't as much information.
Okay.
So there was a couple like little YouTube video tutorial places. I think it was Victor Barber.
Okay.
And I think it was Randy is Cake.
Okay.
And I remember I used to watch them. This was like 13 years ago. I used to watch them. Mm-hmm. But they were shooting on like old flip phones and, like, it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
So back then, it kind of took about 2 years to get good.
2 years of practicing? Just like
2 years of actually being in the shop.
Okay.
Because in order to practice, you got to cut.
Right.
And in order to cut, you got to be in the shop.
Right.
There's only so much cut you do at barber school.
Right.
Unless you are working like from your house or cutting up in high school or barber school or something.
Yeah.
Then, you'll probably get better faster. It all depends on how much access to hair you have to get good.
Right.
But then, it's different for different people. So if you live in a town with like 50,000 people, how many haircuts do you do? Yeah. Stuff like that.
Right. So what would you say? Okay, so given today's climate where the economy's low, we're starting to feel the economy tighten up, meaning that, it's, for one, it's holiday season, right? So people don't have as much money to spend on, let's say, haircuts. Rather, prepare for gifts for their families, buying food, some jobs are like, letting people go. What would you say? How would you recommend becoming a barber at this time in the world?
Yes.
Why?
Good question. So when you get let go of a job, when you go to apply for another job, you need a haircut.
That's true. That's true. That's
so we are kind of recession proof in that regard. And also,
yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
So if you go to a job, you don't have a haircut. You're not gonna get a haircut. You're not gonna get a job without a haircut.
Okay. Unless you're me, but go ahead.
And then when you do have the job, your presentation is part of. You got a guy that's ironed up, sharp, new clothes, working at his job, and you got a guy that doesn't have haircuts. His clothes are not together. Who you think? You're putting yourself in the best position for promotion, success.
For sure. Yeah.
Self-esteem. I feel like it's pretty much a recession-proof job because when stuff is going bad, you need to get a haircut to get a job, and then when stuff is going good, you need your haircut to keep a job.
Right. Amongst many other things. But how would you say? Okay, but like. Man, some people are saying that the looming recession could be like as bad, if not worse, in 2008, 2007, 2009. And that recession was bad, dude. I remember that. I remember what it felt like outside during those days. I remember it was not like you just feel people were going through it. We were going through it.
Right.
So what would you say? Okay, we get in a recession. I don't think people who go off of like walk-ins would be successful. I feel like you'd have to build clientele to be successful. Is that correct, or is that like a little?
Well, even when I started, it was hard. Anything. This is more of a hustle type job.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, I can see that.
So it's almost comparable to like somebody that's selling products,
Right.
like a commission job.
Right. Yeah. You gotta learn how to
So
sell yourself.
even when I started, it took a long time to build up. It's not easy in the beginning, and nothing is really easy in the beginning. Because you're not that good at cutting hair.
Right.
You don't have clientele.
Right. Shit.
But the way to overcome that is getting there early, staying, being available, and you try to lock in every single person you cut. So every person that you cut up, you try to make them a client. So if you cut one person every day and you try to make them a client, by the end of the day, by the end of the week, if you can get 4 of those people to become clients, then you have added 4 people to your roster.
Right.
So in olden days, I don't know how stuff works now. You would go to a shop that was like with like a lot of barbers,
right.
You know, like because those shops have a lot of traffic.
Right.
You know, I know we have barbershops here that are in the mall.
Right.
So when you suck, you kind of want to be in a place that's
with traffic.
It's all about traffic.
Yeah.
Usually those places have higher booth rent though.
Okay.
The more traffic they get, the more money you got to pay out.
Okay.
Because the rent is higher.
Makes sense. Yep.
It's like real estate.
Right.
So in that regard, you gotta. It's a slow game in the beginning. At least it was for me. So I can only go on my experience. I've seen people grow fast.
Yeah.
Like if you're.
Okay, so what if I want to start cutting hair?
If you want to start cutting hair.
Yeah.
The way I did it.
I don't think it would work. Honestly, I don't think it would work. I would take a different approach now. I would go through like, I'd market through social media and all that stuff.
Social media, I'm terrible with that, but yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a different world now. You know what I mean? My bad. I didn't mean to cut out your train of thought. We were talking about the pros and cons of like going through a barbershop that has a lot of traffic, and kind of like that's one way to go about building your clientele.
Right.
So what's the alternative to that?
Well, now if you look at artists, so if you look at musicians, back in the day, they had record labels pushing. So it's basically like being in a big shop.
Right.
If you can if you can promote yourself successfully, which is a skill in itself.
Right.
If you could send Instagram or Reels or whatever to where people are coming just off that.
Right.
But then again, you have to have a certain level of skill.
Right.
So it's all kind of like a little power meter.
Right.
Go
ahead. So I would actually almost argue that for barbers, and there's so many people who need this skill, but your marketing skills and your skills with like media platforms are almost as important as your cutting skills.
Right.
Because you have to learn how to sell yourself, especially now. So I would say here in San Diego, from what I have seen, there's not many big shops who have like 14, 12 chairs that survive. Like the Panda.
No, they don't.
They did not survive.
Right.
It's a bunch of little shops now.
Right. And that's true. And I think that's where it goes into where you were talking about, or I was talking about, artists now, they sell themselves on Instagram. You don't even know the record label no more. I don't know who's J. Cole's record label.
He actually owns his own record label.
Okay, there you go. That's even better.
Yeah, I mean he signed to Rock Nation.
Yeah.
But he has his own record label. All right, go
like
ahead.
who's Lil Uzi's record label?
Shit, I think he's a Rock Nation too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But back in the day, we knew everyone's record label.
I feel you though.
Death Row Records.
Right. All right.
You know, Interscope.
Yeah.
You had it was Aftermath. It was Def Jam, and these artists were heavily promoted by the record label.
Right.
But now, people promote themselves.
Right.
So it's one of those things where you had the SoundCloud rappers where they were all making what was good music at the time.
Right.
Lil Pump, Uzi, Playboy Cardi. I think it was a
Kodak.
SoundCloud rapper.
Yeah. Cardi shit.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe not. But X.
X for sure.
X was a SoundCloud rapper. Trippy, the GOAT.
Juice WRLD.
Juice WRLD, SoundCloud rapper.
Yep.
And they pretty much made themselves famous off a platform.
Right.
Now, I don't know how many other people tried to do that, but they obviously had the skill.
Right. Well, okay, so then I would say, would you consider, okay, so how many years have you been cutting hair?
13 years.
Would you say that it is a good career choice?
Definitely.
Well, I guess it all depends about your goals, correct? Like, what are your goals in life? How much money you want to make? Like,
right.
All that stuff. But for you, would you say you made a good career choice in becoming a barber?
Definitely. Because before I became a barber, I didn't actually complete anything. That was the first schooling I went to, completed from beginning to end.
Okay.
And I found a passion in it.
Okay.
So when you find a passion in something that makes you want to go to work, not dread going to work, the money is, I guess, important, but there's ways to build on that. You can open up shops and this, that, and other thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, could I have been a banker and made millions of dollars? Yeah. But at the end, I've made a lot of relationships with people that have helped me.
Yeah.
I cut people's hair. I make them feel good.
For sure.
I've helped people out and they've helped me out through talking about situations going on in their life.
Mm.
And overall, I'm like a happy person.
Okay.
So when you degree happiness with monetary amounts of money, you can always probably make more money. I think the most successful barbers are probably making like $250K a year, maybe. I don't think you're making more than that. That's probably like an extreme.
I saw a rapper on Barber on TikTok who they stopped on the street in New York. He was wearing like a crazy chain. He was looking good. They asked him, they're like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" He's like, "I'm a barber." So he's like, "Okay, how much do you make a year?" $350,000.
There you go.
Okay, how much do you charge for your basic cut? He was like
$80.
$80 for like a little basic cut, but like anything, everything goes above that. He does a lot of like rappers, a lot of house calls, and obviously that drives the price up. You know what I mean? So I mean, how accurate is that? I don't know. People lie, but just to give you an idea, there are people who, someone's got to be cutting those people up.
Right.
And
that's like a word of mouth thing, because those people around other people that are famous. I knew a guy in San Diego that was cutting up all the chargers. He was doing designs. He was doing designs from one charger, then other chargers going there. Me personally, I never liked that route.
Why?
I feel like in sports, like people move, and I just feel like it's not stable.
Yeah.
Like if you're cutting a puffy, maybe if you're cutting like artists and stuff, but like a lot of athletes move. A lot of famous people, they're leaving a lot. Like unless you're like traveling with one guy, but then I don't know. It's just not my preferred lifestyle.
I got you.
If that's what you want to do, you can do it though. Right. You can market for that.
Okay, but I would say that's almost like.
I wouldn't mind cutting Machado though.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. Like that, isn't that like maybe not like famous people, but that would be like maybe next tier for you is to start offering like a higher level of like of an experience. You come to the barbershop, like the barbershop itself for one is nicer. You have like a really high quality haircut. You use like fine products, and now that's a higher priced haircut, right?
Right.
I'll say like that's the next level. Would you say that's the next level for you, or is that not something you're trying to like tap into?
I think for that, that's like at a certain point it becomes connections. So you have to have one connection to get your foot through the door.
Right.
Someone would have to know somebody that would say, okay, Juan Soto needs a haircut. Can you do it?
Right.
Because without I can't unless someone DM me, it would have to be like, I don't know. I've never done it, so I couldn't tell you how to do it. I don't have information on that, but I would assume it would have to be word of mouth.
So the Padres reached out to you right now, like, "Hey man, we need a team barber. You want to do it?"
I would do it, but I would still have to be able to cut my people because if the Padres said we don't need Team Barber anymore, and I lost all my clientele, I don't know. I think.
How much would they have to offer you a year, like a salary? Let's say they give you like a year's worth of pay in advance.
Oh, baseball players they make a lot of money, so I got to be in with the. I gotta be in with the program, man. They're making like $300 million. I gotta at least make a
6 figures. Give me a little
six figures for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's $1 billion company right there.
Right.
Back to this side, the west side.
It's actually the east side.
It's the east side. How come people on coast are so proud of their coast?
I think it was definitely the rap.
Definitely the rap, huh?
Definitely the rap for it, bro.
Like right now, I just said back to the west side. Thank you, Pac. And Ice Cube.
All right, bro. Some people try to shit on Tupac because he's not from California, claiming he can't claim the West Coast.
Corrupt is from Philadelphia.
I mean, yeah, but bro, when you think of like West Coast artists, even though Pac wasn't from California, he's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, West Coast artists, bro.
He's definitely the biggest West Coast artist.
Right, and so like, there's people who are like, oh, like nah, Tupac. We don't claim Tupac because he's not from the West. Like,
is there people that actually do that?
Yeah, bro. There's people who really feel like that.
Well, I mean, he was born he was born in Baltimore, and he moved to Orange City. I think when he was 16 or 15. But like where you grow up is generally for a male is like your teenage years. Right. You know, if you're a toddler and I'm in Philadelphia from 1 to 8, and then I go to high school in Maryland, which hopefully is a different state. I'm not even sure. So if I go to school in a different, there's only so much game I'm soaking up as a toddler. So he was there young. I mean, he soaked up all of his game from Cali when he was a young adult.
Right. I mean, I think you could also like choose what to represent at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like like you said, if he was born in Baltimore, for example, and he fucking like grew up in California, like he really like got his music started in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
Like he could still claim Baltimore.
Right.
You feel me? But also claim San Francisco. And like you can't even be mad at that. Cause it's like it's not like a lie, like he didn't fucking grow up in San Francisco. So I feel it. But yeah, bro, people really try to shit on Pac because he's not.
But I mean, is that the internet people? I think people on the internet try to shit on anything just to get attention.
Yeah, for sure. Everything. Yeah, for sure.
Because like Exhibit is from New Mexico.
Is he really?
Yeah. He's born in New Mexico.
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah, he's like out here West Coast Customs.
Yeah, for sure, bro. West Coast, like everything.
You know. But I mean, if you're on, there's two ways to look at it. You got gang member stuff.
Right.
So if you're actually a gang member, so Corrupt was born in Philadelphia and became a gang member in LA. Right. So obviously he's going to be from LA.
Right.
And Nipsey was born in LA, right?
Right.
Okay, I don't even know where he was born. So yeah. But if you're just on some musician stuff, I think generally it's like where you spent your adolescence, where your learning years.
I feel like it's also like what influenced you.
That's
Yeah.
There's only so much influence. When you're 9, 10 years old, you're worried about WWF.
Yeah.
You worry about your mom making you some good food.
Yeah.
But you know, when you're out there and when you're learning stuff from people out of the house, and you start to soak up knowledge from, I'm not saying the streets, but outside of the house,
right.
That's what you would become accustomed to.
Right. Come on now.
That's a dope little video angle. Like,
You know what you also gotta look into? Doing this shit vertically.
Oh, I could do a vertical too.
Video is